What causes changes to supply? Remember that supply is about the relationship between the market price of a good or service and the quantity that is offered for sale. We can illustrate what a shift or an increase in economic supply looks like. That would be an increase in economic supply by using our familiar price and quantity axes and starting with an initial economic supply curve. An increase in economic supply from the original curve means that at a given price, the quantity that is offered for sale increases. So the new economic supply curve is going to shift outward from the original curve. A decrease in economic supply is going to be the opposite. Starting again with our price and quantity axes labeled clearly for each, we begin with an original economic supply curve. And note that what we mean at a given price is that less is offered for sale when we have a decrease in supply. So the curve shifts to the left. It is also useful to think about economic supply as the relationship between the cost of production and the quantity that is produced. If we take this perspective, then we can look at a decrease in supply as being an increase in the cost of production. That is, to produce a given quantity of a good, the cost of producing that good increases. Similarly, an increase in supply would be a decrease in the cost of producing a given quantity of a good. A focus on the cost of production is a particularly useful way to think about the factors that cause changes in economic supply. The first factor we'll look at is input costs. The supply of wine, for example, is influenced directly by the price of the grapes that go into the wine. If the price of grapes increases, then that will decrease the supply of wine. If the price of grapes decreases, this increases the supply of wine. Climate and weather are also important in influencing economic supply. Think about apples. These grow well in New York's climate, but they fare poorly and are difficult to grow in California's climate. A third factor which causes changes to economic supply is technology. Think about our ability to pack ever more powerful features into smartphones, or more generally, think about Amazon as a different way of producing retail goods. Or perhaps think about more efficient solar panels, which now convert a larger portion of sunlight to electricity than ever before. Finally, taxes, subsidies, and regulation influence economic supply by, again, changing the costs of production. Taxes, of course, decrease economic supply by increasing costs. Subsidies increase economic supply by decreasing the cost of production. And regulations can, depending on their nature, cause either an increase or a decrease in economic supply.